I bought my first building in Houston. It was a $2 million building. And then it just like, it started snowballing after because I was working full time on doing this.
Hello, folks, and welcome to another episode of Get Diversified. I'm your host, Melvin Landry, and today we have a fantastic guest here. We have a mover and a shaker in the real estate space who's located in Texas, and I want to introduce you to Mr. Tonny Bimpong. So welcome to the show, brother. How we doing?
Blessed and highly favored. How about you, Melvin?
Hey, doing well, man. Just keeping it moving and one step at a time, 1% better every day, regardless. So, Tony, hey, man, look, thanks for joining me on the show. Really interested, man, to share about what you got going on and want you to speak to the listeners about your overall journey in real estate because I see you out there on social, man. You're doing a lot. So, won't you tell the listeners who you are, where you hold from, and what's going on in the space of real estate, man?
Okay. Well, to start off, I want to say thank you as well for having me on the show. I appreciate you, what you're doing. I see the education and just the information that you're sharing to people, and this is valuable. These are the podcasts, these are the things that I listen to get to where I'm at, and these are the things that I continue listening to at a higher load to get higher because like you could skip decades, you could skip years by learning from other people's problems and how they've solved them. So thank you. Thank you for having me. So we're talking about my journey in real estate, and it happened, I guess, like a lot of other real estate investors that they wanted to find a better way and they were grinding in whatever they were doing. And they just realized that no matter what money they made, at least for some people, my case, time is way more valuable than money. It takes you making money to figure that out, but once you figure that out, you're like, oh, I don't want this money if I don't have this time. So then, like, I was looking different avenues, and one of my childhood friends, Adrian, he is a common friend of ours. Like, he introduced me to real estate. Like, he introduced it to me based off the actions he's done, and then when I saw that this could be an avenue, I started learning more. I remember I booked a conference to Grant Cardone's conference, and like up like 2-3 weeks up until then, I was doing a little bit of research, and then when I went to that conference, I was like, okay, this is what I gotta do. So this was like mid 2022. And by the end of 2022, I completely quit my full-time job. I don't advise that of anyone because it's stress, it's pressure, it's ugly. And if you're not built for it, you're gonna leave hating it. But that's how I like to operate. I like to operate in the storm. I quit and I was like, I'm gonna figure it out. And then 4 months later, I bought my first building in Houston. It was a $2 million building, and I didn't have enough capital to put that 30% down. So I had to get creative, and we structured a creative deal where I only had to come to closing with $4,000. So $4,000 bought me my first 20-unit building in Houston. And then it just like, it started snowballing after because I was working full time on doing this. So then a 16-unit I partnered with, and a 58-unit, and then a 16-unit. And then till today, like the properties I've bought and sold reach over 450 units based off all of those actions. And like the goal in the beginning was to sell some, like wholesale. A lot of people are familiar with wholesaling, and was to sell them to gain more capital. But then you realize that, yeah, the capital's coming in, but it's still active. So then you start want to hold them, you want to build equity, and that's where you find more gain and you get more profits in that way.
Okay, good, man. Thanks for sharing that in terms of how your trajectory started, in terms of where you're at. I guess, hey, here's another kind of sidebar question for you. When at the mindset level where you're like, man, I can really scale this, like, was it after that first 20 unit that you did in Houston, or when was it like, oh man, this has a lot of momentum and like I could do a really lot really fast? When did the light bulb hit off for you?
You know what? It wasn't after the first deal because the first deal was a struggle. It wasn't after the second deal. It wasn't even after the third deal. It was like I've been full-time real estate since January 2023. We are May 2025. So I would say more like August, September of last year, of 2024, because I did a lot of partnerships and groups and all of that, and it just like it's really good when times are good, but when times are troubling and different, then you see true colors, and you also get to know yourself. Like, I would never look at an external factor as to where I'm at or why I'm at where I'm at. It's internally. It's if I can't handle something externally, I always look inwardly and be like, okay, well, how can I get better to handle this situation better? As the time progressed, as I grew older, as I got wiser, I'm realizing these are who I click with, these are who I don't click with, these are the stuff I like, these are stuff I don't like, my non-negotiables. And then that's how I set my principles for myself. And then you realize, okay, this is a real system, and now I can scale. And now it feels like it really does feel like magic. Like it just doesn't stop. But it's not a expectation I would want to set for people that this is how it's going to be. Like it's more individually, and I guess it's just how I feel.
Well, look, I mean, you brought up some very good points in terms of non-negotiables. So even for myself and my wife, right? We kind of got full-fledged into the syndication world in the 2023, right? We got into a lot of opportunities, some good, some not so good. And a point that you brought up, the notion of non-negotiables, right? So look, I'm in some deals right now with some partners, whereas I'm gonna shoot it straight with you. There's no way in hell I'll do another deal with them again, right? It's going so not so good to the point where it turns like maybe my evaluation of the partnership should be a little different. Maybe we should think about the approaches of how we decide to partner with people a little different, right? Because we are in some deals that are just going horrendous. And honestly, I'm not quite sure I'll get my capital back. And that's okay. Okay. This is a risky business. We know that, right? Not every deal is going to be 100% rosy, as you know, right? And there are issues. There are always going to be issues. That's part of the game. But the upside is, like Grant says, right? 10x, tenfold. So great point that you mentioned in terms of your non negotiables and the true colors, right? It comes out when times are rough. It comes out when shit hits the fan, right? And again, no deal is perfect. There's always issues associated to it. So I'm glad that you brought that up because people need to know, right? Everyone's always, throwing out or putting out, hey, I got a good deal coming, right? So when the shit hits the fan, right? How do you handle? How do you divert? How do you adjust? That's key in the grand scheme of things. So thanks for sharing that.
Yes, it's really helped put a lot into perspective for me too, and like it's easy to look back and say I should have known better, but it's also like we can't fault ourselves too because we're humans. And for be above a real estate investor, I consider myself a salesman. I am a salesman, and people make buying decisions based on emotions most of the time. If the emotions are heightened and you did it back then because the emotion was heightened, can't blame anybody. You can't. So it's like, but you gotta learn from it. And a wise man once told me, never take $1 out of your pocket that you're not willing to lose.
Fair enough assessment. That's the core of the day. Okay. So let's talk about market dynamics, right? I mean, look, you see on social, you're in the chat groups, right? Folks are panicking, folks are scared. Honestly, I'm excited in terms of opportunities, right? In my market in Western PA, the deals are starting to hit the flow. Right, they're hitting the market, which is a good thing. Give me your point of view. I know we're in different parts of the country. You're south, I'm out east. What's your view take on the market, man? I mean, there's a lot of fear in the market, which could be a very good thing. So we just want to hear your 2 cents on and your perspective on that right now.
Okay, so I would address the fear first. I like that a lot of people are scared. I like that a lot of people don't think it's a good time to buy. And I like that a lot of people aren't really transacting because I don't like doing what a lot of people are doing. And if a lot of people aren't doing it, then I'm going to be running towards it. And like Warren Buffett, a lot of great speakers, investors say when people are fearful, be greedy. And when they're greedy, be fearful. So now is like, and if you look at the numbers and you look at the data, the people that are transacting, they're the big dogs. You see blacks like throughout the turmoil when stuff really hit the fan for the sheep or the 97% of the population. Blackstone last year, if you were to hear their earnings report for Q1 through 4, they've invested the most amount of money they've done ever. You hear that. You have Jonathan Gray, Steven Schwartzman, they're talking about that. So I'm hearing that. I'm making sure I'm tuning in to what the top are doing rather than what the majority are doing. So when you tune into that, you realize, okay, this is what I should be doing. And there's been a lot of transactions on my side. The most like a lot of transactions, I can't quantify it right now, but there's been a lot of transactions this last year, and even in April, closed a 30 unit, closed a 64 unit, closed a duplex, like 100 units just last month, and in January, another couple hundred, and like, well, it's really bad for people. So I like that people are fearful. So my market sentiment is it a time to buy? I believe too much. I believe a lot of foreign money are coming into the economy. So I don't think that the values are going to increase because of interest rates. I think that's like a far-fetched thing, but I do believe values are going to be increasing because of the influx of money coming in. That influx of money, like it directly correlates to the basic principles that we should be looking at, the laws of the supply and demand. That is probably the number one principle to look at when evaluating what's the deal. And basically the law is when there's a lot of supply, the demand's low. When demand's low, the prices are low. When there's a lot of demand, the supply is low, and when supply is low, prices are high.
Hey man, you could get it. Have you? I'm a econ professor as well, man. Have you be the assistant, teach the class, man. You provide that's the simple law of economics right there. And I mean, right now is a unique time to buy. I know, we love smaller stuff in our market, right? Deals are starting to hit the market. And at the end of the day, like Kim McElroy mentioned, it's just math. The math needs to jive, right? In order for us to, to be able to seize on the opportunity. So great insight. Appreciate that. So let's talk about the overall balance, man. I see you everywhere, man. Every time I'm plugging in the social, you're somewhere. You're walking a complex. Your workers are executing the business plan. How do you manage the balance, man? Particularly, you've accumulated a lot of units really fast. What's the secret sauce to talk to other listeners out there?
Yeah, well, right now there's no balance. So, and I plan for it though. I plan to be unbalanced at this point because of the goals that I'm reaching for. How does that, like, why am I doing that? Because I believe when if I have balance right now, I can't get to the level where I need to get to really have balance. Because if I try and implement temporary balance, it's gonna fade because I know what I need to do in the future. And it's probably against popular belief, but there's no balance right now. It's some nights 3-4 hours, and some nights maybe I'll be at the beach. I like to live at the beach a lot, so I'll probably be there 2-3 days on do not disturb, and it's really unbalanced. But my priorities are getting things done.
Jacqueline and Melvin, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to listen to this episode of Get Diversified. Please make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on future episodes. Finally, stop by our website and follow us on social media. Ciao for now. Make it a great day, and we'll see you next time. And remember, get diversified.